5. Today is the 10th of June 2025. I'm reading A Sufi Journey by Reshad Feild entitled The Last Barrier. It was published in 1976 and it is about his time in Turkey and how he meets Hamid, how he has to do certain tasks. And I'm now in a second reading of chapter 4. If you do not wish to listen, then go away and come back again when you are ready. I have plenty to do and I do not care to waste my time. Waste is the only sin, and everything follows from that. Sin is a lack of knowledge, so if you want to understand, you must listen. Taken aback by the sternness of Hamid's response, I realized that I had asked the first question that had popped into my mind, simply to get him to stop talking for a moment, to give my rational mind a chance to catch up with what he was saying. I had not really considered my question at all. Please forgive me, I said. I didn't mean to interrupt. I only wanted to understand. Please, go on. I'll do my best to listen. I'm sorry I spoke so sharply, he said. This is only your second day here in Side, and you are weary from travelling. But you must remember that it is different here than in London. There we work around each other, having a good look at one another, both of us deciding whether we were going to take this next step together. Then you were offered the chance to come, and you accepted the offer. Now you have come to my house, and each moment counts. I want you to stay here for the least possible time. We have no time to waste. I want to pass on to you some of the knowledge that I've been given, so that you can go back and teach others. He paused. Devotion to God is studying Him in every aspect. Understanding God is knowing all you can of Him. Serving God is teaching what you know of Him to others. For now you trust and learn and study and more study. Are there any books you wish me to read? I asked. Certainly not, he replied. You have read for years, and where has it got you? Your head is filled with masses of ideas and concepts, and you yearn for experience that others on the path have had. Before your true nature is understood, all those ideas and concepts must melt away. No books. The only book is the manuscript of nature. The lesson is life itself. Live passionately. Who said that this path should be so serious that there is no joy in it? This is the most exciting adventure possible, and it should be enjoyed. Joy is the springing forth of knowledge, knowing that God is perfect and is beyond comparison. Do you remember when I once asked you why you were vegetarian? I told you that I ate meat because I know that God is perfect. He smiled at me, and there was a twinkle in his eye that made me smile too. I know what sorts of thoughts and questions you would have, but I never asked you to change to my way of thinking. Always we ate together the sort of food that you felt was right for you to take. But now the time is coming when it will be necessary for you to realize that, as there is one absolute being from which all stems, so we cannot separate anything from that one being. Everything in this universe is perfect and of proper order. It is part of the play of life. The animals are given to us for food so that we can live. It is part of the redemptive process. It is only through mankind that a redemption can take place. The process is alchemical, and we are merely transformers of subtle energies. A very great teacher, Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, said, I died as a mineral to become a plant. I died as a plant to become an animal. I died as an animal to become a man. I will die as a man and rise in angelic form. Why then should I fear to die? Who is the I here? Is it not the great I, the first I? Contemplate on these things today. Within you is everything that has ever been, and everything that will ever be. All past time, all the different kingdoms. Do you think that the animal world is any different? Look at the animal. It eats the grass, and the grass has already taken into itself the minerals of the earth, the sunlight and the other energies of the cosmos. So by eating the grass, the animal has absorbed both the mineral kingdom and the vegetable kingdom into itself. There's only one absolute being. This means that we must accept the responsibility for the way we breathe. Remember this and know that whether you eat meat or not, every time you inhale, you are breathing in the elements that are contained within the animal world. Even as you breathe now, you are inhaling some of the air that I have already exhaled. When you were vegetarian, you were breathing in the elements of the meat I had eaten, transformed through me. Were you aware of that? As I told you this morning, the secret of life is breath. Through correct use of breathing, there is nothing that cannot be transformed, and it is our duty and our obligation in being born to become conscious transformers. I'll tell you a story about how this can work. A young woman once came to me who had traveled a great deal in India. For 1 whole year, all she had eaten was oranges. That's true, oranges and nothing else. This woman was immensely strong. She could carry a heavy pack on her back. Logically, she should have been completely wasted away, but she was actually healthier than most. She came to see me because she had heard that I might be able to introduce her to certain people in the Middle East. I had invited her for lunch, not knowing her eating habits. Although she was very polite, she was horrified at what we were eating. There were 14 of us around the table, and I had cooked duck, roasted in the oven, with curacao and Grand Marnier. Sometimes someone had brought a fine claret, and we finished the meal with champagne and a lemon soufflé. She accused herself, said that she was on a special diet, and brought out an orange from the bag she ate very slowly. Most admirable it was, but in her horror at our eating habits, she was not able to hear what was being said. During the course of the conversation, I gave 2 names and addresses to the group, knowing that was what she had come for. She did not hear, for she was caught in a concept of how a spiritual guide should be, what he should eat, and so on. She left very disappointed and, more than that, angry with us. The inner secret of the story is this. She had had a teacher in India with whom she had studied for a long time. He was an ascetic, and taught her the diet that she followed, but more important than the diet was the breathing which she studied with him. Through the correct use of breath, she was able to take in all that she needed. She did not know it, but she was taking in everything that was necessary from the different kingdoms. I died as a mineral to become a plant. Do you understand? He waited in silence. I opened my mouth to ask him another question, but this time I was frightened. I can see that the question you're going to ask is from the heart, and so I will do my best to answer it. What I wanted to ask, then, is if it's possible to take in all that you need from eating an orange and correct breathing, why do you still eat meat? This question seemed to strike him as uproariously funny, for he leaned back on the sofa and laughed, his body shaking, and he went on laughing until the tears poured down his face. "Oh, you Westerners," he said, why can't you understand? I eat meat because I like to eat meat. The meeting was over. He left the room, without a word, disappearing into another, smaller room that was separated from where we had been sitting by a rug hung across the doorframe. I waited for a while and then walked across the patio to my room. I had decided to spend the afternoon on the beach. I was to meet Hamid at sunset by the Greek amphitheatre, so I had plenty of time to rest and try to assimilate what I had been told. So much had happened since my arrival 2 nights before that I had almost forgotten the beautiful woman who had joined us at dinner. She came out of her room. She held her hand in front of her, just as she had the night before, the blue wool again tangled and knotted about them. I felt embarrassed by my intrusion into her world, and at that same time I felt overwhelmingly sad. She walked towards me, not looking directly at me, her head slightly tilted and her hands and fingers pointing towards my chest. She was so intent on her action that I backed away in sudden fear. I felt that she was trying to possess me, and yet I could not look away from the hands thrust towards me. The palms were joined as in prayer, and the blue wool hung in tangles to her waist. When she was within 2 or 3 feet of me, she raised her head and looked into my eyes. Trying not to take my gaze from hers, I reached down and carefully pulled away the wool from her hands. As I untied the last strands, she smiled, looking at her hands in front of her as though for the first time. The mass of wool trailed down onto the floor. I bent to pick it up. As I did so, she screamed and went on screaming, crying out in pain. She fell to her knees, clutching the wool in her hands again. As I reached out to help her, Hamid appeared, hurrying across the courtyard. He pushed me aside and bent down, putting his hands over hers. Immediately, the screaming stopped, and as she looked up at him, she was like a very young girl. He took her hands and helped her up, motioning to me that I was to collect the wool. As I rose to hand it back to her, he took the wool, bent and kissed it, and gave it to her. Then he put his arm around her and led her to the house. I followed them slowly across the courtyard and went up to my room. Who was the young woman? I had never heard her speak. Perhaps she couldn't. The compassion with which Hamid treated her, the extraordinary gentleness he showed when he led her to the house, made me think that perhaps she was his daughter. But it had not been the right time to ask, and I was learning that it was better not to inquire about things that did not concern me directly. And I put a break in here. And we'll finish chapter 4 soon.